Well, wasn't it great to have the long weekend off so that we could all stay home? Might not be so funny if we're still in lockdown in 6 months' time. I've never heard the separation between God and humanity described as social distancing, but I suppose there's something to it. Our sin makes us sick, makes us die. God, of course, is not vulnerable, but his holiness is incompatible with our sin. We would be the ones dying if we were in his presence. But thankfully, as we heard on Good Friday, Jesus, by his death, he has bridged the great divide. When he died, the curtain in the temple was torn in two from top to bottom so that we could be with God. And then, of course, on Easter Sunday, we heard the last installment in our series on Genesis, for now. And such a tragic end to Noah, his death. How good it is to be part of the new creation in Jesus that knows resurrection from the dead. I figure Italy has its singing streets and America has its suffering celebrities. It's only right that Carlingford Prezi also has its stories to tell. So to raise a photogenic appeal of the midweek message, let's hear from Sarah.
I used to love the outdoors. I still go out for walks, but it's not the same. I used to love eating out and dining with friends and family. These days it's a lot more phone calls and video calls. There's been a couple of Zoom calls and we've been trying to play board games over the internet. Work has been busier. And the best way I can describe it is a redistribution of resources. So we've been training new nurses how to work in our area and learn the new equipment. We now attend a Sunday morning service with Ben on our TV instead of usually going to a 6 p.m. service. There's a Zoom Bible study every Thursday, and that's certainly a different but fun experience. It's nice to still stay connected. Please pray for me and my fellow nurses to keep us safe and that you'll keep our family safe during this time. We also pray that people may feel connected and loved and that we may be able to check in on everybody.
Here's my last thought for the day. I mentioned a few times that remember in the Bible means something different than not forgetting. It's about God bringing something to the forefront of his mind in order to act on it. In Genesis 8, God remembers Noah. We heard in 2018, in Exodus 2, God remembers his covenant. I thought I'd try and explain in 2-minute theology why understanding remembering in the Bible is so important and what it means for us as well. Start the clock. In the English language, remembering is the opposite of forgetting. So if we remember the milk, it means we don't forget it. That is, we don't make a mistake and let something fall out of our minds. But the Bible frequently says that God remembers, and God is not in the danger of forgetting. There is no danger of anything falling out of his mind. Instead, when the Bible speaks of remembering, it usually means to bring something to the forefront of your mind in order to act on it. That is, God brings Noah to the forefront of his mind in order to save him. God brings the covenant to the forefront of his mind in order to save Israel. Importantly, God also promises to not remember. When God describes a new covenant in Jeremiah 31, no longer will a man teach his neighbor or a man his brother, saying, "Know the Lord," because they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, declares the Lord. For I will forgive their wickedness and will remember their sins no more. God promises to not remember, that is, to not bring to the forefront of his mind our sins in order to act on them, to punish them. Now, God doesn't forget our sins, as in it's not a slip of the mind, a mistake, an error, the way we might unconsciously, accidentally forget someone's name or forget to buy the milk. It's a deliberate, conscious act to not bring our sins to the forefront of his mind so that he will not act on them and punish them. That's God's promise to not remember. You might see that the parallel phrase in Jeremiah is that God will forgive our wickedness. This is what forgiveness means, to choose deliberately, consciously, not to bring something to the forefront of our minds so that we do not act on it. Forgiving and forgetting is not what God does. It's not what God calls us to do either. We're called to forgive and not remember. to choose deliberately, consciously, not to bring something to the forefront of our minds so that we do not act on it. Because like God has done for us, He's already borne the cost of our wrongdoing on Himself in Jesus. So we're to do for others, to bear the cost of their wrongdoing on ourselves, and so forgive and not remember. To continue upping the photogenic standards, this week we're hearing from Luke on Malachi 1. I'll send out a link later this week. And until then, remember, Zoom Bible studies, 7:45, Wednesdays and Thursdays. Remember, Zoom Sunday School, 10 a.m. Sundays. And remember Jesus Christ and His unchained gospel, all day, every day.